When you think about your journey from childhood to now, what has the journey to living your most authentic life taught you about yourself?
That even if it costs me everything, I have to be me. Even if it means I walk alone. It's not fun to walk with people who you think love you and be in a cage.
Embracing the journey to authenticity. For everyone, that journey to living a life that feels like the truest, most authentic representation of who you are, it's different for everyone. So in this space, in this conversation, we're going to be sharing the journey, the story, the life experiences of Kiki Joy Latham. Now, you were modest and you said just to call you community activist or leader, but I was on Instagram and you have many interests, from home chef, photographer, movie buff, foodie, nature lover, hiker, speaker, activist, non-binary, changemaker. Those are a lot of interests.
I am very modest about you. Yes, I love life. I take it by the horn. So I try to do everything that makes me happy. And that's definitely my list there.
And that's something a lot of people struggle to do, to live life to the fullest, embracing all of their passions, all of their interests. Looking back on where you started, where you are now, how do you feel?
I feel reborn. I feel like I just started living last year, my true authentic self. And I'm glad that I'm still young enough to enjoy it.
That's wonderful, because a lot of folks, they worry about living in this box, or the box where everyone else feels that they should be it their family, be it society or the world, and they miss out on living the life that feels like the truest representation of who they are. Looking back at lived life, do you feel like you missed a lot of years?
I think I stopped being me at 14. Exactly what you said, the pressures of society, of parents, of being a person of color, a standard that you're supposed to be held to, caused me to bury the Kiki that I was growing into. And when your growth is stunted, your mind development is stunted. I can honestly say I haven't felt grown until a few years ago.
And can you kind of take us back? Where did you start and get us up till now?
I'm gonna give y'all the short version because this could be a Lifetime movie, but I live in Minneapolis currently, but I'm from Columbus, Ohio. I grew up in a very abusive home, physically and mentally. My home was very militarian, and so I wasn't taught to think for myself, or when my emotions tried to display themselves, I was whipped for it. So that was my childhood. And then my mother finally got brave enough for me at 13 to move us here to Minneapolis. My mom's mom came and got us. When I came here, I realized how Black I was. I grew up in a poor neighborhood in Ohio, and unfortunately in Ohio, that neighborhood was predominantly Black, so I had never seen such diversity or different colors in my life. So to move here was a culture shock. I thought it would be better here, but my mother's being abused by my father unfortunately stunted her as well. And so when we moved here, instead of her being my mother, she became a teenager, which meant I had to fend for myself and my siblings. So it was a lot of hard times. I was beat up a lot for my nappy hair, for my Coke bottle glasses. We were on welfare, so I couldn't afford the specs I have now. And so I was beat up a lot for that, mentally, physically, emotionally. I didn't do well in school. It was hard. Unfortunately, in that also there was times of molestation, there was times of rape, there was times of more physical abuse, even in this city. So I never grew. I hid in this inside of myself and drowned myself in video games and food. I became a severe emotional eater just because I felt like I didn't have an opportunity to find who I was. I didn't experience love on the romantic side until I was 16. And unfortunately, that boy thought I wasn't feminine enough. So that failed. So just picture all that. And that's how my life was being lived. That's how I was not growing.
And when you say you came here and to Minneapolis and your mom was more like a teenager, was it because of the freedom that she had in being in a new place and not having your dad and the dynamic that you had in Ohio? Is that what you meant?
Absolutely. My mother was stunted by her mother, and then to go into a relationship with my father, who was mentally and physically abusive, she never got to live her life either. She had me when she was 16.
Were there things that you wanted to be able to go to her for that she wasn't able to be there for you in the way that you would have wanted her to be?
Absolutely. When I was a child, we weren't allowed to watch television. So when we moved here, my mother got us this big screen television. I saw shows like Full House, Step by Step, Family Matters, these family shows showing this love and this dynamic in this family. I mean, things would happen, but they would talk about it and love and embrace one another. Emotion was not showed in our family. There was no hugging, no kissing on the forehead, no physical affection. And so a lot of times I would ask her for that, even though I think the gift I wanted on my 18th birthday was a hug. And instead she had me try wine for the first time.
Is affection something you've had to learn later in life?
Absolutely. I can honestly say I haven't had an actual romantic relationship my entire life. Any hopes or crushes I had were dashed. And when I think about it, I truly believe it was because I literally walked around with a sign that said rejection across my forehead because I hadn't been shown what true love was. So in the last year and a half, I have found what love is, and it's healing me. And it's the most beautiful thing I wish I would have experienced a long time ago.
And what is love to you now that you have a representation of what you feel it should be?
Love is patience. It's kindness. It's giving back and forth. It's emotions being expressed. It's listening to the small things. It's taking in that person completely, no matter where they come from or their walk, accepting them and their faults and loving them still. It's freedom. When
someone said they loved you, what did that mean to you?
My life here was so damaging that at 18 I joined a church. I had never heard of Jesus before or any form of higher religion. And at that point in my life, there were times I had tried to take my life and it never worked out, or I just get scared. I had multiple plans. And so when I found God in this religion, these people told me they accepted me and loved me. And for 6 months, I believed that. For 6 months, I let everything out, all the pain, fear, and frustration. And I truly believed that I was finally accepted by someone, by something, this chosen church family. But eventually they started to show their true colors when I realized that I was not straight, but that I desired to be with a woman. Once that happened and I started questioning things, then that love I thought I had was broken again. So I wanted to say that so people understood. When someone says they love me, I've known love to be conditional. There's an expectation of me to perform, whether it's financial, physically, or mentally, to give of myself until I'm empty for that love to remain. And that became exhausting and actually further fuel my desire to end my life, unfortunately.
How did you get to this place of joy? You say Kiki Joy.
Yes.
How did you find joy out of all the pain?
So that church part of my life was 20 years. That was from 18 to 37. COVID caused me to be locked down, right? Like we couldn't go anywhere. We couldn't do anything. And I was isolated and I had to look at myself. And when I looked at myself, I said, "You're not happy." You're not happy. I cried so much. And I finally got into therapy. And the therapist I worked with, she looked at me and she said, "Kiki, are you gay?" And I remember I cried the rest of that call. That call was supposed to be an hour. For the next 45 minutes, I cried. And she apologized to me for how the church had dubbed me as a sinner. And for the first time, I smiled. Like, I genuinely smiled because in this call with this therapist, I was accepted. So she actually got me connected with this group called the Queer Impact Collective. And I started listening to it, and I was like, I'm not the only one struggling like this. It was so freeing. It felt so good to hear someone else say, hey, I'm dealing with this too. The church I was in, we couldn't have outside friends. So I was trapped in this never-ending circle of depression. So I joined this group, and I met all these great people, and they loved me as I was. They loved me in my pain and my frustration and my queerness and my journey from being bisexual, lesbian to non-binary. And in that time, I also found a woman who loved me in my faults, in my pain, in my fears, and embraced me as I went from a more feminine walking person to masculine. And so that combination of these people, of this woman, of these body positive Instagram people, these queer Christians who are like rocking it for God and walking in who they were, changed me. It set me free. And so I had joy for the first time in my life. For 12 months, I had never-ending joy because I chose to live my life out loud and boldly, being surrounded by this group of amazing people.
When you think about your journey from childhood to now, what has the journey to living your most authentic life taught you about yourself?
That even if it costs me everything, I have to be me. Even if it means I walk alone. It's not fun to walk with people who you think love you and be in a cage. I can't tell you how many times I screamed on the inside, wanting to be me, wanting to dress like me, wanting to wear my hair like me. It's going to cost you something. I tried for many years to avoid it, and it cost me something, and it was painful. But I wake up every morning smiling and happy. Mm-hmm. I love myself. I never loved myself. Mm-hmm. Never. My whole life. Mm-hmm. So, I'm sorry.
That's okay. You don't have to apologize.
When your smile is genuine, when your heart is full and lifted, when you wake up excited for the day, for multiple days. I'm not talking about one day of the week and then you got to face these people on Sunday and these people on Thursday. I made a decision to love me, and I will never go back.
To be able to make that declaration that I'm going to wake up and love me. Do you feel like you wake up with a weight lifted? Do you feel like you still carry the pain of the past, or you're choosing to be happy and not allow the past to control who you are and how you live today?
So, that's actually an excellent question. I want to word it well with, every morning I do wake up and I say, I'm not going to let the past define me, right? I'm not going to live in that. But I'm also learning that there's layers there that come out. Just a quick example, last night I was with my girlfriend, and I never had been embraced as what I was born. So I was born as a woman, right? And I choose to live my life more masculine now. But the reason why I went that direction is because anytime I tried to embrace that female part of me, I was met with hate. I wasn't pretty enough. My hair wasn't long enough. I wasn't dressing correctly. So eventually that got beat down so much in me that I killed that part of me. And I didn't realize I did that. And so as I've been processing and staying in therapy and working through those pains, I got a breakthrough in that last night. I said, you know what? I am a woman. I'm masculine, and I love that part of me, and I'm going to let her out, and I'm going to scream to the rooftops. I don't care how you think I should dress or look or carry myself. Damn it, that's who I am. Yeah. And it felt so good to say that. So I will say that I choose not to live in the past, guys, but there's things that I'm realizing I've buried that are coming out, and I'm dealing with them healthily, and I'm still waking up with joy. I still got a pep in my step.
So it's sort of like re-owning the disowned parts of yourself.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. And that's scary. And I don't want y'all to think it's not easy. If I could ever share my whole story, it would be devastating to many, but it's not about the devastating parts now. It's about, this is my life now. Like, I claimed me. I fought a battle that I didn't think I could win, and I won it, and I'm walking in it, and I'm proud.
Mm-hmm. And when you get up and start every day, there's a love for self that had not always been there before.
Yes, I like looking at myself. Guys, I couldn't even look at myself in the mirror, Shayla. I hated how I looked. I hated, like, I didn't have any full-length mirrors. I would just brush my teeth in the morning and walk away. I was so beat down and taught that who Kiki was a disgrace. I was told I was not wanted, I was not needed, that unless I gave of myself financially, physically, mentally, I was nothing. Mm-hmm. And so I had to challenge that. Who am I without all this performance? And it's been a journey, and I'm loving it though. It's hard because I have to redefine that now, but it's worth it. And I can honestly tell you, every holiday is hard because I grew up with holidays being family, right? But I do have a chosen family now. I have 2 women who love me to the end of this earth and include me in every holiday, every function. We actually were just together yesterday. They're older and wiser, and I appreciate them, and they bring me such joy.
You could communicate anything to other kids who may be experiencing challenging times, trying to figure out who they are, trying to navigate life with family, and worried about support. What would you want them to take away from this conversation?
I know it's scary. I moved here with just my family, and so I was so scared to let them go because I was like, who would I be? You grow up with your mother, your father, your siblings, and that's what you know. That's your identity, right? But I want to challenge you and say, but who you are, someone without them. You can be someone great. You can impact. You can make a change. Be bold, be brave. Find an excellent therapist who is open-minded to everything, that accepts all walks of life, all journeys, all religions. That definitely was a big thing for me. And find some positive groups to follow. If you're on social media, clean out your Facebook, Instagram, anything that's negative or that you might have looked at and said, this makes me feel bad. Take the time to clean that out. Any toxic people, to kind of clean it out, because what that's going to do is it's going to change what you're seeing daily, and it's going to make you grow on the inside. I feel like there's a tree in my heart now where there were stones, and that tree has a bunch of pink leaves and it's growing every day. And then find you. I didn't know I could cook. I didn't know I loved being outdoors so much until I got quiet and said, what makes you happy? What brings you joy? What's your religion? My religion is nature. So whenever I'm feeling down, that's what I embrace. I got a puppy. I love my dog. So if you can be brave and take those steps, if you can be brave and find you will find love. You will find happiness. I never had a relationship. I'm in a beautiful relationship now. I never thought I was beautiful or handsome or anything. I think I'm both now. And that's because I shut out all the noise. Shut out all the noise. Shut out all the people who think they know you, but they don't. Because if you don't know you, how do they know you?
Where is Kiki 5 years from now? When you talk of joy, I'm sure you think of the future and what your dreams are. What are your dreams for you when you think of the future and what lies ahead?
Oh my gosh. So, the good things about me coming out and embracing myself and loving me is I've been able to work with a lot of queer youth. I'm on a pride board here in my small city. I get to work with my mayor. So it's opened so many doors for me that I would love to have a nonprofit working with queer kids. And I would like to get a house for them too, where they could come and stay. And because I have so much love to give, and I want this house to be a house of love and rainbows and happiness. And a few animals there. But yes, seriously, I want to do that. I want to continue to work in the community, and especially being a person of color, we make change. It's powerful. Unfortunately, because a lot of our boards are predominantly white-based, which that's because they don't. People of color, they're scared. Like, will we be accepted? Can we come out and be our opinions be acknowledged, right? And I can honestly say that's happened. I'm lucky that I have a mayor who's super diverse, and I love her to pieces. So yeah, I want to be married. I'm gonna get married, guys. That's gonna happen. I want to live by a lake. So that house is gonna be by a lake because I feel water is so healing. Like, just sitting by it and being in that moment, it's so whole for me. So that's where I see myself in 5 years. And I'm not going to stop. I am a warrior, princess. And I want to see the biggest thing on that list is I want to affect our Black queer community. I know a lot of us are hiding. A lot of us are afraid because of where we come from. My mother was from Georgia, okay? So I understand. But we deserve to be loved, appreciated, and respected too. So those are my goals.
A lot of those goals are in alignment with, it sounds like, creating space for kids to be at a time where you probably would have wanted to have some of the resources that you're creating when you were their age.
Absolutely. I knew when I was 13 that I was queer. I didn't live it until I was 37. I don't want another kid to go through that. It's hard to bury that, something so big in you. I can honestly say there was times where I felt like I couldn't breathe. I found my personal relationship. This is where it comes back to finding your personal relationship with that higher power, with yourself. And you'd be surprised how much you grow.
Last but not least, that's such a message to end on. Where can people find you?
So guys, I deleted my Facebook because I thought it was toxic.
Okay.
I can't do it anymore. But I am on Instagram.
Living your best life.
Yes. I am truly living my best life.
Well, thank you so much. Every time someone shares this space with me, I am so honored and I'm so appreciative, because it does take courage to look back at your past, all of the pieces of who you are, even the painful ones. And even though we may not be resolved in the pain, just to be able to talk about it, to know that we are seen, we are heard, and we are loved is so key. Take care, everyone.